Okay, so since we're a little running behind here, we should get moving. We need to, first before though we start, I would like to welcome Brad Whistler to our group. Welcome to the group. And appreciate you joining us, and you're serving from Plan Commission. Thank you. That commission, Plan Commission, yes. So thank you for being with us and on the board. Appreciate it. So we need to do a roll call, so we go around and do a roll call. So Kate, you want to start?
Felicia's on.
Yeah.
Kate Rosenbarger.
Phil Amerson.
Heather Robinson.
Brad Whistler.
Mary Morgan. Dee Del Rosa.
Elise Spinelli.
Alex Pratt.
All right, great. Thank you. Dee, kick us off here.
Okay. Do we want to do the approval of the minutes first?
Yeah, sorry. February minutes, any corrections, updates to the minutes as presented? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second, Mary. All those in favor, aye.
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 Do we need to do roll call for that since we have, okay. Yep, all right. Kate?
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Yes. Lisa, Gary.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's a delay.
That's okay. All right. Minutes, Carrie. Thank you. D, Director's Report.
So, a couple of kind of fun, interesting things. I'm doing an info session for the CFC tenants. Ron Walker reached out and was like, hey, what's going on with the BUEA? And I was like, hey, I'd love to tell you. So we kind of put something together really quickly. This is going to happen on Thursday morning. I wanted to reach out to the tenants before they start doing their taxes. So I can tell them about, if you live and work in the zone, there's a great deduction. We're going to talk about scholarships and building improvement grants and things like that, and just kind of get some general questions from them. So that's really exciting. So that's happening on Thursday. And then I'm doing essentially the same thing for Steve Mullen's podcast, The 812, at the end of this month. I think we're doing it the 27th of March. And so, just really trying to move forward on the marketing as best as I can as one human. I just started talking to Julie Long today about putting together an RFP for marketing and finding that human for us. So getting that figured out. But this is kind of the first initial step of starting to market the BUEA a little bit more and getting some of this money out a little bit faster, although we've been doing not too bad the past few months on some of these grants, which is pretty encouraging. Catalent in general, EZIT update. I have just received the service contracts from the consultant that we used last year, Stone Municipal Group. We're doing some edits on our end before we send it to Alex to get something written up, and then it's ready, set, go. The tax time is quickly approaching. These aren't due until May 15th. However, we'd like to get them in as soon as possible so we can look at any corrections that might need to be done or anything like that. So there's enough time to deal with that. And Brad, I don't know if you're familiar with the EZID program, but it's the zone enterprise zone investment deduction program. Essentially, this is how the BUEA generates revenue to create grants and do basically all of our programming at this point in time. So it's a tax incentive for businesses within the zone. And then as far as Catalent, I talked to DMA and they said that everything is good with them in the county. We are just waiting for Catalent to send us a check. That's it. So we are good to go on all of those corrections. They've sent everything to Catalent, and they were like, oh, you haven't seen anything. We'll talk to them again about it. So I've got them on that. And then as far as the Rapid Response Fund loans, we were hoping to have something together this month for you. I actually do have a pretty good program put together with the staff report, a memo, and all of that. But we're running it through the mayor's office, and Jane would have a little bit more time, and so did Cheryl with it. So hopefully April will have something, but I ran with it as far as I could without any assistance. So sometimes you got to pass the ball. But I'm pretty excited about it. I feel very confident in kind of the approach that we're taking as far as like shifting the loans to grants and giving some people some relief, especially in these very crazy economic times. So that's all I really have right now. Does anyone have any questions about anything, or did I miss anything? Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, did we talk about a cap on those, on the grants or the loans that you're?
I don't believe that we talked about a cap on those. Most of those loans have been partially paid.
Right.
So I personally don't think that there is a need for a cap on it. But I mean, I'm happy to, once we go through the whole thing, happy to reevaluate and see if that's something we might want to do. But almost everyone paid something, which is great. So, yeah.
So no financial reports. We were talking a little bit about this before the meeting. So I think this would be important to the RRF update as well, because we haven't seen a balance sheet in 4 months. So I think for next month's meeting, I think we should spend a little time on the financials, look at where we ended last year, what, the outcomes and so forth were, and then will we have through March next
Yes,
month?
we should have through March next month. Or, yeah.
You think so? We'll be able to get through March next month, so,
Let me look at a calendar.
or will we just have January and February?
See, so the reason that we've always been like a month behind is because of when the statements come in, because the statements usually come in the second week of the month,
Okay.
which is when we have our meeting.
Right.
So I will take that back. We will probably have up through February.
Okay, well, that would be helpful still.
Yeah.
So giving us a chance to kind of look at where we ended last year, this year, looking at first couple of months this year. I think that would be important to that discussion as well. It will inform us around that. So we'll look for Cheryl next month to have financials for us.
And then just one other thing I was saying a little bit earlier, but just for the record, we have had some issues with getting payments out in a timely manner, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more on the spreadsheets that we have. Actually, you know what, let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and share those,
Okay.
and we'll talk about that right now.
All right.
Because now that Cheryl's not here to do a financial report, we should talk about that. So, I don't know if you can see that, Felissa.
See if you can blow it up just a smidge
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
Okay, that's good.
There we
That's
go.
better.
So one of the issues that we have been having is that we're trying to get a standard operating procedure for payments going out. I think in the past there haven't been as many in succession. So, and with the kind of change of administration and all of that, one director had one system, this director needed another, and there wasn't really one that had been like a standardized way of setting it up. So we've finally kind of streamlined that at this point in time. So notifications, all that sort of stuff, and there's like it's great because like you can check it when you get the notification, and then it's like just a standardized check at the beginning of the month to make sure that everything's been cleared. I'm probably going to take that a step further with our cash sheet just to have Cheryl pinged when things are added and all of that. So it's something that's very, not to the point of annoyance, but definitely something that we know, okay, that there's been a change in our financials. Right here is what we have, is what we spent thus far, or what we've had committed for 2025. $100,000 for the arts incubator. We're still figuring out how exactly we're going to do distribution on that. Holly and I are working on that right now, but those are committed funds. We have spent $10,000 for a historic facade grant, and that was the Monroe Oil Building. That was last month. We have dispersed or committed about $110,000 thus far for 2025. As far as the improvement grants, we've done $10,000 for safety and security, which also went to the Monroe Oil Building. The board wanted to approve the full $20K, and so we separated that funding through 2 different budget lines. And then we have the business building improvement grant, and that was for Bloom Magazine for the roof replacement for $10,000. So thus far we've dispersed and committed about $20,000 for zone improvement grants. What the issue prior to was that all of these grants that we did kind of from the second half of the year on in 2024 were kind of being thrown onto the cash sheet that we have for 2025, and it took a while for those contracts to just get through the sauce. At the end of 2024, we spent a total of $140,500 in the arts and culture section, leaving $9,500 left over in unbudgeted grants. And then for the zone improvement, we spent a total of $40,011.94, leaving a balance of $34,988.06. So just to clarify what had been and had not been spent, that kind of gives us, obviously we're doing pretty well in this improvement category already.
Can you scroll down and remind us why that the grant on the small business safety and security is kind of an odd number?
Because there was because there was an exact number on the on which one was it? There was actually an exact number on Amethyst House, I think. I'm sorry, I did not do this right. There's an exact number on a safety and security grant that I think I forgot to put on here. Let me see if I can find it really quick.
It's not important.
Yeah.
But there was it was no, that wasn't backdoor. That was a different one. You know what? I will find that information for you because I know I can't think on the top of my head, and I knew I needed to make note of it, and I 100% forgot to do that at the bottom. But yeah, there was one that asked for a very specific number, which is why it's off.
Okay. Yeah. And so these all hit 2024, correct? So when we see financials from 2024,
Yes.
these all hit. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I thought this would be helpful to have some tracking of what we're, along the way, so that we can kind of see. And we didn't exhaust all of the funds from last year. So, if we want to take that into consideration as we're looking at some of the requests for this year, because I think, which is great, we've had pretty high demand to start the year. And if we look in the packet today, we have 3 requests. And so we could, in Q1, burn through potentially one of the grant line items here. So it's the board's discretion as to what is agreed, voted on to fund, but if we exhaust it and we still have more requests through the year, we could, kind of look at if we left, some money on the table, so to speak, from last year and whether or not we want to take that into consideration. So, thank you, Dee. That's
Yeah.
super helpful.
Absolutely.
All right. So we do have some grant requests, right? Do you want to go to those?
We do. I think I missed a message from Dave Weil. He was going to try and make it today, but we can just review the application.
Okay.
Let me make this a little bigger on my computer so I can see what's going on. This is for the warehouse. The warehouse is on 1525 South Rogers. It is, I would call it an interfaith community center. It's a really fantastic facility. It has one of the largest skate parks in the nation. They do a lot of really cool stuff like the home show, which is like one of the largest home shows, I think, in this region, on top of just family activities and whatnot. They have been doing a lot of work with youth and families and feeding kids and families. One of the things is that there is no barrier. It doesn't matter whether your family's rich or poor. If you need a meal, you can come and get one, which is pretty cool. This is specifically, they're doing a lot of different projects, but this one specifically is the improvement of their kitchen. I think within the grant, they do mention that they are getting some assistance from the chamber for, I believe it's a dishwasher. But I've gotten to take a walk through the facility, and they're doing what they can with what they got. But I think they had somewhere upwards of 9,000 kids come through for meals last year, so it's nothing to sneeze at. They're doing a lot of good for the community. The total for the project is around $41,000. They can match up to 50% of that, so they're asking for 20,000.
2689.
2689. Thank you. They want to do basically most of that work is for the electrical in the kitchen. It's one of those situations where you kind of turn on one thing and turn another thing off to make sure that everything's good. The other part of what they do there, they grow a lot of their own food indoors, and the facility's actually really incredible what they're doing. It's like a zero waste like farming, the indoor farming that they're doing, which is pretty amazing. I think that they're doing good work. And I do recommend that the board consider this. I would, however, like for David to come in maybe next month and speak to this because they are asking for such a large quantity of money.
It would also basically spend down the entire amount that we budgeted.
It also would. So that is something to take into consideration. That's what I have to say on that. I will try to answer whatever questions you do have, but I do recommend that the board table this to next month so we can have David come in here and give the pitch.
I would also ask a couple of things just to tee it up. And so the request calls out specifically that they're asking for electrical updates in the kitchen, yet beyond that estimate, there's an estimate for the man plumbing, which makes sense if you're redoing. If they're bringing in a new dishwasher and they need some better water flow situation in there. But the flooring is never mentioned, and it's just it's, hey, I got a guy that'll do it for approximately this amount. I think I would like to see a
More.
professional estimate if they are also asking for the floor as part of this to be considered, as opposed to it would be approximately this, and I just,
For
feel
sure.
like that maybe we need a professional estimate. And then maybe he can then talk to us about, he asked for the electrical improvements, but the request includes flooring and plumbing. So just, kind of, not to split hairs here, but
No, I
it
think
would
that
be,
that's completely fair.
I think, seeing something, if the floor is a consideration that he would like to bring before the board also, then let's see a professional estimate on it, like what we have from Mann and Cassidy.
For sure.
When you speak with him,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm familiar, I've visited a few times and met with David. It feels like, do they do any strategic planning? Do they have a strategic plan?
That I am not aware of. There is an annual report that I can share with the board.
Okay. The reason I ask is that they're quick to respond, but often programs come and go there. And I'm wondering if they have any outcomes-based kind of measurements that they set a goal and fulfill it.
That's a good point. I mean, these renovations are expensive, and, having some, they're talking about the things they do or they've done, but what is the, with the improvements, what is the plan for usage and, long-term?
I mean, good on them for taking
Yeah.
on that big space. It's
Exactly.
a grand
Yeah, it's
old
massive.
space, but,
Can I just, as a clarifying comment?
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the 2025, this is in business building improvement, is where this would be coming from, right?
Yes.
We have 30,000, 10,000 already committed,
Mm-hmm.
so there's only 20,000 left there.
Right.
And there's
Mhm.
nothing carrying over from 2024 in
Yeah.
that line, right? So this would exceed what we have
Yeah.
left,
Yep.
right? So we'd
Yeah.
have to, I mean, is that even, this is a newbie question here. I mean,
No,
is it?
well,
Do-
the,
Is it
Good question.
Yeah.
possible that we reallocate from another line, or do we just, 20,000 is the max we could give in this
we
particular grant?
have definitely reallocated from other lines. That is something that we have done before. It is at the discretion of the board to amend the budget if they would like to do that. Like Heather was proposing before, if, we see that, maybe we want to carry over something, but I think that the board should discuss it. It's not an automatic gimme by any means. And the board has every right to only say, like, we're only giving you 10. That's what we can do.
And so just leading up to these things, when you're talking with an applicant,
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of the conversation? Or are you
Absolutely.
just bringing forward exactly what they're asking for and then leaving the board to decide if we want to reduce that amount?
So when I speak to applicant, and this is definitely a different situation because they were asking for so much, and I definitely wanted to see what are you talking about. I do discuss with them, any award is at the discretion of the board, whether it is above the suggested 5,000 that the staff recommends, or if it's under 10,000 or 5,000 or whatever. It's like you could ask us for $20,000, but we only have $300 to spare. Yeah, I mean that's really how that works out. Now with like the historic facade grant, that's a $10,000 minimum. Like there's a match. That is exactly what it is. But I definitely have these discussions with the grant applicants that I meet in person. We have made these online grants, and people don't usually ask for that much money. We do have a $10,000 cap that you can ask for online. And I will say that, like, for instance, for the mill grant, like, I understand what's going on there because I've been to the mill multiple times. I deal with them quite a bit. So I understand what they're talking about in that. So I don't really have to have that assessment. And they've also worked with the BUA before, so they kind of know what's going on. it's going to become more important for me to be talking to grant applicants because we're branching out. I think for a long time it was the same people who were asking for the grants. So they kind of know how it works and all of that. So now we have new applicants, and I'm trying to be as transparent as I can to be with them.
And just for some additional context, for many years, we had difficulty spending down any of the categories.
Yeah.
And we were accumulating significant fund balance reserve, and so we were looking, so I feel like now we're starting to flip where we've gotten the word out and are gonna continue that, so we're just gonna, I think, have to work through what is the right amount that we can budget and then be flexible to some extent. I mean, certainly so early in the year, I do feel a little bit uneasy about spending down the entire amount for a line item by March, but
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
I think it's a good problem to have, right? I mean, because to your point, Mary, for some time there just wasn't a lot of interest in the applicants. We weren't receiving applications. So I do think, though, we probably need to address the possibility of just agreeing to exceed the budget and by how much, because it will also inform you. So because if we exhaust the line item, you need to know from the board whether or not the board is agreeable to spending more. Otherwise, you just have to turn that spigot off and we're done for the year in that particular category. So the board needs to determine if, so we're not approving this today, but that's coming back to us. We need to talk about whether or not we want to increase that line item, I think, because otherwise then, you can't really accept any more from that because the spigot's off.
Sorry if I missed this in your earlier, but the balance from 2024 is 9,500 and 34,090, so 44,500. Is that just still available to be allocated somewhere, or has that already been accounted for in the allocations in 2025?
It has not been accounted for in the allocations. In
So we can put that money into any one of these lines for 2025 if we want to.
Yeah.
It's cash. So, yeah, I mean, your year-over-year budget, it's cash we're sitting on that we didn't otherwise use, that we had budgeted for last year. We didn't increase, well, we may have made some tweaks to the budget, but
There are a few increases,
but we didn't significantly increase the budget by what we didn't spend last year. We could say that we want, because it seems the business building improvement is where we're getting a lot, it's the most flexible for businesses, and it's where we're getting a lot of interest. We could certainly say as a board, we'd like to increase that by $35,000 or $40,000. I don't know whatever that number was, or 50,000 if we want. And so I think this would be important, and Brad, just your first meeting, that's why we need to see the financials. We need to see what our cash balances are in the accounts.
That was gonna be my
We
next
need to
question.
see what the year in 2024 is and where we've started for the year, and keep these other spreadsheets going, because we have what we've dispersed, but the timing on that, we may have committed something and 4 months later it's still, I'm not saying, but it's been kind of slow to disbursement. So we need to track what we're approving essentially that's committed and or dispersed in real time, so we are informed to know, oh, hey, we have, that's why that spreadsheet was so important today, because I knew we were going to hit this, we were going to exceed that line. So I think it's a discussion we should probably wrap into, well, we have, I think we need to have the financials in front of us, and then we need to talk about that next month.
Absolutely.
So let's all plan on that.
I think too, just I think high level as well, like what do these grants cover? Safety and security? Because I guess to me, if we're just talking about, I mean, I think you can kind of say anything in building a building could be safety and security. So I don't know, like when we are talking about potentially resurfacing a floor and adding a non-slip surface. Like, is that within the realm of this safety and security? I guess I like don't exactly know what it means. And like
Right.
creating like safe electric to me is
Yeah.
also different than upgrading electric
Right.
potentially,
Right.
Absolutely.
right? So just, I mean, and they can of course be the same where like, right, things aren't working and you're shorting things all the time in a commercial kitchen. I guess so just sometimes, I guess a little bit I'm like, is this the right avenue for all of these projects for the warehouse, or does it not all fit in the safety and security grant
Right.
line?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking about that too with the electric. That's
Yeah.
a real safety issue.
Yeah.
If your
Mhm.
fuses are blowing and you're
Yeah.
flipping something and, it blows out I mean, that to me feels like a safety issue in a commercial kitchen.
Although I do feel like, and I think it's a good thing to clarify, I'm just trying to remember the discussion when we were talking about like that as a category. It seemed to me that it was more focused on like external building
Right.
safety and security in the sense of like.
I will reshare the original guidelines, like grant guidelines. I think those would probably be good for you too, Brad, so you can see what it is. But yes, they did primarily focus on external things.
Like safety lights and motion
Yeah.
lights.
Yeah, or even
Granted
for
like
that,
locks,
right.
building locks.
Yeah.
But I will have to look back on it. I think we did also like put in like, I think we put sidewalks and everything because that was a thing that nobody could
Yeah.
ever get fixed.
No one can get the
And that
Mhm.
actually
Right.
is like safety.
Oh, we talked about it. That wasn't the church actually. That was different.
So why don't I send everybody the guidelines again so we can review that
That'd be good.
before
Mhm.
next month?
And a question for David. Did they also potentially apply for Jack Hopkins?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Because
Because I know they talked about the chamber, but
Yeah, that is something that they probably should have reported in this application.
well, I think they also apps are just. I think the process is just getting started too.
Yeah.
Like the request for applications is out.
Gotcha.
So it might be. I would think that's a good fit for them too.
Okay.
And I know we put in more funding this year for that, for more grants.
Good deal. All right, good discussion around that. So keeping an eye on the time, we have 15 minutes. So Dee, I know we have a couple more grant requests in front of us. So let's go on and talk about Gold Dust.
Yeah. I'll try and get this up here. Oh, so big, so big. All right, so Gold Dust is a little record and vintage shop on Rogers. It's not far from here at all. Pretty adorable. I have been there a couple times. I really like it. They are looking to. Oh man, I do not like Adobe. Sorry guys,
You gotta-
I'm not an Adobe person.
Get it bigger.
I know.
There you are.
I'm not a PC person, guys. Don't use Adobe. So they're on North Rogers. They do rent this space, but have spoken to their the property owner about doing some of these improvements. The project would be to replace the floor, which is concrete, and then also I believe it's. Oh yeah, and then the sales counter. That's what I thought. It looks like the total for it is $6120. They are asking for $3,000 for help on this project. So here's the outside of the building. Very cute, very tiny. So this is the concrete floor that they are speaking of, and they would like to do a different covering for the floor or an installation of a floor. And then this is the point of sale counter that they're using right now, which is really just a display case. It's not an actual counter. Yeah, so they're asking for $3,000 for assistance with that.
It seems like most of our grants are coming from the owner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't recall an example of a lease situation. And their lease ends on June 1st.
Mary, go ahead.
So I just, is the landlord included in this discussion, and
Yes,
how is that?
the landlord is included in the discussion. I did speak with Jade, the owner of the business, and they said that they were re-signing their lease. However, it's only a year lease, but they intend to continue to re-sign the lease. And we had a discussion about this particular situation as far as like lessees and spaces. I think that it's important to grant a loan or give a grant like this because they can't take this space with them. So to put that financial burden on them makes it's difficult to have an additional financial burden on a space that you don't actually own. However, it is a space within the zone, so we are improving a building that exists within the zone for the next business to come in to that.
For the owner.
For the owner who won't make the improvement.
For the floor, that's true. I'm not sure that's true for
The counter.
the counter.
For the counter,
Because they
yes.
could just,
Yeah.
in a few
And
months, take that
so-
outside of the zone. Right?
The price on that was.
The counter, 480
Mm-hmm.
and 560. I don't know, it's kind of on there.
So the landlord hasn't been looped into.
The landlord has.
Oh, it
Yes,
has,
they
yes.
have. That's actually a question on the, on
okay,
it. It's
all right,
like,
sorry, I
do you
missed
rent? Did you ask your landlord if you can do this? Because I have definitely had people say, oh, I want to do a thing. And I was like, you need to talk to your landlord about it first.
But so what we have is Jade's confirmation, not, the
Yes.
landlord hasn't been contacted or involved directly, so we don't know from the landlord directly whether this is, whether she.
I haven't spoken directly to the landlord
Okay,
yet, no.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was one of my questions, like, is this, some of this work that the landlord should be responsible for, and obviously.
That was my thought too, when I
Yeah.
first saw this in
Well,
DNI.
The thing is that with these, and this is something that comes up pretty often when people are renting spaces for their businesses, the lease usually is is usually states it's like, it's your responsibility to do the build out, all that stuff on the inside,
Yeah.
that's you.
Yeah.
So technically, no, it's probably not, but without seeing their lease, I don't know. But I will say boilerplate ones usually say build out inside is you, can't do anything about it. So it is a burden on them that they can't take with them. So that is why I feel like it is worth giving or granting them this award for sure. And then as far as the rest of the stuff, it's like, well, that's kind of it's sort of what we're talking about as far as like building improvement, like improving the space. I do understand that they are, they're potentially movable. I actually don't know, and I can find out information if it's something that they intend to like put in or if it's something that is removable.
I'm trying to remember, there aren't,
Also,
go ahead.
Oh, go for it.
no, go ahead.
Well, Felissa, go ahead.
I just wanted to speak on the lease fee and landlord position. Like when you're renting a space, you're correct. The build out is all on the tenant and what you do to improve the building. Most landlords aren't going to deny you of that because you're improving their building. And so if it's in the zone and a tenant is trying to make their business space safe and improve the outlook on it and get a better scope of having an environment that's good to work in, I think that should be something that we consider because it's still building up businesses in the zone. It's still making buildings more safe, more sound, and that is gonna stay in the zone. It don't leave when that tenant leaves.
Right.
So I think we should consider that. Being that the landlord has to be on board with it. But I've never seen a landlord that said, no, you can't improve my business.
Yeah, right.
Please
It's
don't fix
probably
this.
an unlikely situation that the landlord would not want the floor improved.
Yeah.
So,
My question was really, and I don't think would tip my vote much one way or the other, but if I recall, there are not many other businesses around that corner.
They're not.
And I'm wondering about the future of that corner. And a small investment now may help this business so they can move another place. That wasn't there a tattoo shop in there?
There still
before?
is. There's a salon and a tattoo shop right next to
Okay.
them. So, I mean, it's kind of all those businesses are pretty well related, you know.
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thoughts about moving on this one? Any other questions? Any concerns on it?
I guess the only thing I would think too is if they're putting a sign outside, I'm sure they know it just has to like follow the rules of code.
Oh, they just have their little sandwich board.
Oh, that's what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They just have a little sandwich board.
Well, I thought they were asking for a new
Light box.
light box sign.
Light box,
Yes, yes.
Is that inside?
I
The light
believe that
box-
that is inside.
Inside,
Oh,
light
okay.
box
Okay.
to
So-
hang inside.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Once
Wait, I
again,
thought-
and once again, this is at the discretion of the board. You don't have to give them the whole $3,000. You can be like, we're gonna take care of this and this.
It says
No, it
here,
says-
making a new
yeah.
sign for the building which would allow customers to see the location from the road.
All I'm saying, I mean, I do like this grant. I was just saying
I mean,
they should
maybe
just
in the
double
window or
check that, like, it
Yeah,
follows
if
the
it's a
rules.
light box or if it's a neon or what is it?
Yeah,
that-
yeah, 'cause I
if
think
it's like,
there
if
are,
it's
like,
inside, because if,
Downtown rules.
yeah, if it's a light box inside the building, it's fine. But if it's outside of the building, then that's the issue. I have no problem clarifying that with them.
I mean, just to be helpful,
yeah,
I'm just
my
saying they should
assumption-
just, they might not know that it's a code thing.
Yeah, my assumption is that if it's a light box, it'll be inside, but I can check with them on that. And we can also table this as well and vote on it next week, or next month, next week, like we meet every week.
I don't,
Yeah,
I move that we go ahead and agree to the grant. Or
Okay,
accept, with the understanding that you'll speak with them about the light box.
absolutely.
So we have a motion. Second from Mary. I think we're gonna have to do roll call on it. So, Kate, you wanna start?
yes.
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 Okay. Motion carries and grant is approved. All right, everyone, we're down to 5 minutes here. Does everyone have a five extra minutes? Are we clear in this room for 5 extra minutes?
We should be good.
Okay, so let's see if we can do our final discussion here in about 5 after. So this is from the mill, our final grant. And I know, Dee, in the original materials that you sent us, they were asking for 2 doors for improvement. But it seemed like they were asking for the full estimate. Are they going to still do 2 doors?
They are still going to do 2 doors.
Because part of the requirement for the business building improvement, or this would be safety and security grants, is...
No, this is an ADA grant.
Sorry, an ADA grant. Isn't this business safety, wait a minute, am I looking? It says business safety and...
Oh, did I?
No,
Business accessibility modification.
Oh, okay, sorry, business accessibility. Is this, I'm just trying to refresh my memory and so the board knows as well, they have to have at least 25% in.
Yes.
Okay. Because if they had they had 2 doors they were going to do, and the request was for the total for the 2 doors. If they're still going to do the 2 doors, they meet, you see what I'm saying, they meet the 25%, but if they're only
Right.
doing the one, I
Yeah.
hate to split hairs, but
No,
you know
they
what I'm
are
saying.
still doing both doors.
Okay,
But they know that but they're asking for funding for the one.
right, which is half of the total project,
Mm-hmm.
which is like meaning, that's where I'm just, again, wanting to make sure the criteria is met for having at least 25% of their own money.
And they do have
Com-
25% of their own money for the entire project,
Okay, which is is both, just 2 doors.
which is 2 doors.
Okay, all right, good deal. Did you, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. They want accessibility doors for the main entrance and then the lower,
And then there's the lower entrance.
The lower
So
level
they're
entrance.
going to, so this would be to have those accessibility doors on the main entrance level. They have had many struggles with those doors. They're actually kind of problematic if you're just a normal person. So yeah, if you, yes, they're problematic doors in general. So I think that this is a good ask. There are a lot of people that use the mill
yeah,
on a regular basis, and
It's,
everybody should be able to get into it. And I think
safely. Yeah.
that this is an improvement that they've wanted to do for a while, and they're finally in a position to kind of move forward on it. And if we can help them with the funding, that's great. But they've decided first the main entrance, and then they'll move on to the event space.
So this would fall under the business accessibility modification, which
Yes.
we have, is that, what am I looking at, 20, we've had no grants thus far
That's fine.
for that, and it's $25,000 in that budget line item. Any comments? I'm fully in favor of this grant, I mean, with the accessibility.
Yeah, I mean,
Are there any?
I highly recommend that the board.
Go through those doors several times every day. Not kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really nice to just like hit a button when your hands are full.
Right, yes. Doors are, yeah. Before the meeting, I talked to Heather and Dee, since I'm a member, feels like recusal might be appropriate, especially if we have folks we have enough. I
Yeah.
support this grant, but I just,
Yeah, that's the question, Alex. Mary is a member,
So is Brad.
and so is Brad.
Yeah.
Like, which means that they just work at the mill. Like, they have a space there and they work at the mill.
Yeah.
But they're not
We don't
on,
have any financial interest.
they have no financial interest,
Yeah.
they're not on the
Just
board.
wanted to- I think you should disclose it, but I haven't seen a copy.
Okay, that's fine. So
Okay.
disclose it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
I had no idea that this was a leased property.
It
It's
is,
leased from the city.
It is leased from the city.
Yeah.
Development
Well,
Commission.
because, okay, because we own it, so Hand is the owner
Mhm.
of
Yes.
the mill. Okay,
For like $1
okay.
It's a little more than that.
Yeah.
no, it's definitely more than that.
Okay.
It is
So
a
just
significant amount of
to-
money.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
So just
All right.
I don't
to,
know that can of worms.
I will not
Okay.
open it.
Okay.
the only thing I think is like the mill asks for a lot of money, and is there a way to see like what the city pays the mill like in totality? I mean, I know they get like all the parking outside is free or whatever, and like,
No, not anymore.
oh great, and their meters.
They're-
Yeah, it's
Park
all
Mobile.
Park
It's
Mobile.
all app.
Oh, cool.
app-based.
I guess I would just like to know because I guess I would like to do, yeah.
There was also a pretty hefty land purchase that just happened between the mill and the city. So they've actually paid us back quite a bit. So
Does the city even own any of that property?
the building.
With the
It's all-
building, but it's all,
Well, a lot of it's transitioning as part of the Lilly grant that
Right.
the
Yes.
bill got.
Yeah, I
They're
thought
using a lot of the,
pretty much all.
I don't know where it
Yeah.
stands in the.
But
in
we
process,
own
but-
that. We do own that building. Everything else is starting to transfer over. So, but it's also kind of the same. It's almost the same deal with the lease, where it's like, okay, you guys there's some build out that you guys have to do. There's certain things we just don't cover, and we do cover this. I will say that the city does cover a lot of things. Like we did the tuck pointing. We'll have to deal with the roof, which is something that's probably going to come up soon. There's just some painting on the inside that we've done, but the doors, we actually don't cover those. That is something that they have to figure out, and they're also a nonprofit. They are a 501c3.
Yeah, they are nonprofits.
So
So
are you proposing that we postpone this, table this pending
No, it's
information?
okay. I'm just, no, I'm not saying that. I mean, I know they are a nonprofit, and like in the realm of nonprofits in Bloomington, we have a lot, and so I just want to make sure that we continue to
Yeah.
spread our BUEA dollars
absolutely.
out, because I do feel like they come to us a lot.
Are you aware,
I agree with you, Kate.
are you aware of any other ADA requests that may be on the horizon?
Other than these two doors, no, I don't have anything nothing that I've heard through the grapevine, and nothing that's kind of simmering in the background. So
I'm sure there's a great need, but that's
I'm sure
not-
that there is a great need. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm working with someone to actually figure that out right now. But yeah, this is the only one we've got thus far. Shall we table or shall we vote?
How's everyone feeling? Do we want to move forward with this today?
Table.
Okay.
So I think we need to be specific then about what we want. if we
Right.
table it.
Yeah, agreed. So what are we seeking? If we don't vote on it today, what are we seeking? To make a decision that we don't have with us today. Felisa, what would you like to see?
I just want to know more about other sources of the meal.
For sure.
Okay.
You know, because I feel like we've seen the meal so many times. And not that I'm not for the meal and their work, but like we said, we're getting a lot more applicants. We need to sort our money out among more people.
Would it be possible just to update the application? I think what Heather was saying is, the 9,000 is for one set of two doors, right?
Yes.
So they are, just so we can see that we're
Yeah.
paying for half and they are paying basically
For
for half.
sure.
Is that okay? It's very small, but just in
Yeah,
case we like
that's
revisit
a
it.
good point because to me it's, you know,
It looks like they're asking for the total.
total of one door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
As
Okay,
opposed to they're doing two
so-
doors, it's a project at the same time.
Okay, so potentially some type of, well, I can get you some city support numbers. That's easy. I can find that out on my end. Then some type of financial report. Would you want like some type of annual financial report? from
Well,
them?
I think the question too, so it's a city building
It is.
and it's not an ADA compliant entry now, or is it?
I don't see how it could be.
We might only have steps to get up to the.
No, we have a ramp.
No, there's a
other
ramp.
ramp.
And they're double doors, so technically, yes, you can get into it, but it is like I think what happens is that it like fits the minimum requirement
Of ADA.
of,
Because I would assume
of
that
accessibility.
any city building would be
Yeah.
ADA. So if they own the building, it's not ADA, why? I guess that's just, you know, maybe that's
Right.
is that the question? Maybe we're wondering too.
Why that wasn't something that had been done when the
Yeah,
city
yes, but if
purchased
it's
the building?
ADA, yeah,
I've got a lot of questions about that.
okay. Okay, so I think maybe just helping us understand, like, what's the city's responsibility for a building they own and lease?
Yeah.
And is a ADA entrance, one that is compliant with ADA, part of the city's responsibility?
Right. Is it the city's responsibility or the businesses
Or the
slash
business,
nonprofits?
right.
Mhm.
For sure.
And if it's the business nonprofits, and that's, you know, so then we can, yeah.
For
And
sure.
then the,
My guess is that you're right. It's probably just barely meets
barely
the ADA
meets the
requirement.
ADA.
But,
Yeah, I was actually talking to an ADA specialist last week about accessibility and how like there are plenty of things where it's like, yeah, technically, yes, this is fine, but.
Seriously, I don't know how, if you're in a wheelchair, you
You
would
get
get
in.
that door open.
And if you have to
Exactly.
get
I mean,
both open.
they have members that are, you know, in wheelchairs.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I don't know, I
And
don't,
I
I
don't-
don't know how.
I don't get it either, but yeah,
All
all
right.
right.
All right.
I got some more goodie.
Thanks, everybody, for the extra time.
Yeah, thank you so
Heather.
much.
My pleasure. Meeting adjourned.